Welcome to another daily recap. I'm Sam Morton. Today is Thursday, August 29, 2024, 7:44 a.m. almost Eastern. So we're looking at a weekly chart because today is Thursday. We have 2 more days in the week, and since Monday's Labor Day, it's a holiday, we have a 3-day weekend. Want to see kind of what they're going to do, just kind of get an idea of where they might want to close the week and the day. There's really nothing bearish about this chart. They're approaching the all-time highs. Perhaps it's a little easier to see. If we zoom in onto a daily chart here, you can see the range starting to develop here that they've been in. They tested the low yesterday of this range. Here's a 2-hour chart, just to kind of get a better idea. So if they were to get much lower than this area here, start closing hourly or 2-hour candles, then something else might be going on. But what I saw yesterday on this 2-hour chart and also the hourly chart kind of gives me some indication that they're probably going to want to push higher a little bit. They got to get above some areas before they can break out, but that may be what they're trying to do this week. We'll see. But the levels are what's important. They're a lot more detailed and specific than these larger time frames. Just want to show you kind of where we're at. There's nothing really all that bearish from what they're doing lately. And this hourly chart, they're below a 50 period. This is the blue line's a 50 period, and the kind of the reddish line is 20 period moving averages. They're 559.76, so they're kind of right underneath this little area here. And here is the 1-minute chart that you're familiar with and the levels. We talked about where they're at. They could come back down, retrace a little bit of what they did yesterday. Currently at right below 560 at almost 8 o'clock a.m. So these levels are going to give us the granularity and detail we need to manage the trades if the SPY hits them, trades in the E-mini futures. So we'll come back after the closing bell, talk about whatever happened in any trades that may have been produced from these levels. Catch you on the other side. And here we are. It's almost 12 hours later, almost 8 p.m. So let's explain a few things. I did something kind of dumb today, just wasn't paying attention, but we can talk through it. So let's talk about playing by the rules. You can see the 3 levels the spiders hit. In fact, I'll just remove these other levels that weren't factors to make things simple. So I just want to point out, first of all, that I was away from my computer, had meetings back to back in the morning until 11 or so. Was after 11, I got set up and I took this trade here and then made a mistake around here. I'll talk about that later. But playing by the rules, you would have gone short at 561, 17. If you take five pennies away from that, because that's more than enough. That's like 5 points or so they pulled back. That's a base hit there. If you didn't get it, they would have given it to you later. So that level was resistance. This one I took, pretty clear to see that this level worked great. So, but once again, once a level is traded, this is traded on the short side. I'm not going to take it for another short trade. They get above it, I'm going to look for a recycle trade if they meet certain criteria. Same thing with this other one. Wasn't enough time here, but there was time here. So what I'm talking about is I'm jumping ahead here and saying this short trade here, once they got above, would have qualified for a long trade because I wanted to be on the long side today. I mentioned that this morning, but this was not enough time. But earlier on, so I'm looking at this happen. So I'm really excited about taking a trade here, thinking this is what they're going to need to bounce off of and go higher. So I had an order in the system to buy 4 contracts that they got down here. They didn't. I actually jumped on board and wrote this up and got a little bit out of it. I'll show you that. So meanwhile, they're messing around with this. And then without a lot of warning, I kind of looked after the fact to see what kind of spurred this drop here. They fell back through this and I still had the order in the system. I kind of forgot about it because really after this here, and I kind of got some points and you'll see the recording of this actual trade here, but I let this thing get out from underneath me here. And I did jump out, reversed, and washed it out, and no problem. Ended the day in the green. It's not a problem, but that kind of messed me up for this next level down here, which was a perfect bounce here. The low of this candle here in 2:39 p.m. was 558.31. So with your little 5-cent buffer, you would have grabbed that one, no problem at all, and jumped up. So base hit, base hit, base hit. Now I'm going to go ahead and code this in with a playing by the rules log as a fumble, because this is not a classic near miss. They did not get close enough. Like this would have been 561.27, your operating level, right? For a recycle trade. They came back down. They got out of it around here. Enough time had elapsed. They're coming back down. I want to buy here. That's what I wanted to do. But they didn't get close enough. They took off out of this area. And really, it would have second guessed. I wouldn't have normally taken this trade just because of a kind of a gut feeling, because that was kind of it. And plus it was later in the day. It happened. I took it, and I'm going to go ahead and code it as such to show you that you don't really have to panic when this kind of thing happens. There are rules to follow, and you would have jumped out And, that in this case, the loss would have been washed out pretty well. So they were on their way back down to the gap from yesterday, and that's where they found some support. So we'll talk about what that looks like on the tracking log. But meanwhile, let's look at my trades. So I mentioned I didn't get set up until after 11. You see, it's 11:16 a.m. at this point. And so they were approaching this level. I took a short trade, really wanted to be on the long side. So I was willing to sell something for a little bounce, a little reaction here for a base hit. So I'm in the trade at this point. I'm going to start recording this really fast. It's sped up quite a bit, but you'll see this, just a simple base hit, 4 points. Maybe I can pause it. There we go. $400. That's 4 points with 2 contracts. And that happened quickly. And let's see if I can pause. Yeah, I want to show you this. Only 2 seconds in here. It goes by pretty fast. I'm going to back up again. Okay, this is perfect. So they're on their way down here, and I have an order. This is me putting, if SPY is less than or equal to 561.25, I just adjusted this to a few pennies here. Then what you don't see off the screen is the other side of that order is then buy at the market in the E-minis. I was going to buy 4 contracts. So that's the order. You kind of see it flash through. But they didn't get low this time. You saw this. So here's my reference levels, and I jumped on board about right here. My thought process at this time was something I don't normally do here is jump on board or kind of chase price, is that they didn't get down to my level for a recycle trade. They're on their way up. I really didn't want to miss out. I know it's a kind of a bad thing to do, just like whole FOMO and all that, but it worked out. I mean, I'd only bought 2, thinking if they're going to come lower, I'll buy again if they come down to this level. They didn't at this point. So meanwhile, I got half of the position off at a decent little base hit here. Trailed the remaining. Well, I didn't actually trail. I was just looking at this thinking, well, if they go up, I'll just take this one all the way up. I'm not going to chase any more of this, and set a target up here at some point. But if they come back down, would I be willing to let them go in the negative? If they come back down here to buy again, I end up just jumping out at a wash on the second half here of this position. So I'll just show you here. I mean, I could have got out at any point, but really kind of anticipated them going higher, and they didn't. So kind of left this on the table. I guess you could look at it that way. But so this happens. They come down. They're kind of playing around. So at some point, I'm kind of paying attention. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, if you get to 0, I'll just jump out of this trade. So there's no loss on the second half. And really kind of forgot about this level. It happened kind of fast. And I was busy on some other things. There we go, right there. So I'm pretty much out of this trade. And at some point, coming up, I turn around and I see that I am in the hole. It happened pretty fast. Wasn't really looking at it when it happened. So at this point, you'll see me, okay, I reversed it. So I was long 4, gave quite a bit back to the market, saw what they're doing, reversed it. And this is kind of sloppy here, but I took 3 off. I'm trailing 1. So there's a lot of stuff is happening here, but there was the balance playing by the rules. But I'm in this trade at this point, so I'm thinking, well, how far down are they going to go? They end up stopping me out on the remaining. So this is essentially just a big wash. And I'll show you how it ended in the green, but that kind of messed me up for the day. I'm not 100% sure what caused that. I was looking at a few things after the fact. We had Jerome Powell say a few things the other day. It says Thursday's move, this is a CNBC article, Thursday's move comes a day after Powell reiterated his warning message to lawmakers that the central bank may raise interest rates higher than previously expected. I'm not really buying that. That should have happened yesterday at 2:30 or so when this thing fell out. But anyway, that's what happened. My trades were kind of all over the place today. Playing by the rules would have worked a little better, and we'll take a look at what that looks like in the log right now. So the first one, you can read this. This is playing by the rules log. So I'm treating this level here as a fumble because the first time they came down into it for the recycle trade, it wasn't close enough for me to call it a near miss. I have some parameters that I like to use, and it wasn't. So it would have been valid for a trade. I just wasn't feeling it, didn't intend to take it, but I did. But enough about that. Here's what happened. You would have had a couple base hits, then you had a 13.5 point fumble before you recycled, just a base on the reversal or more if you're willing to just ride that thing down, another base. So ended in the positive barely, and not too bad, but that's kind of a shame because that kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion. So my trades were even more ridiculous, but ultimately what happened is I gave back it was a wash, like a net 2.5 point fumble with that 4 contract position after getting a couple other base hits. So it was $350 that I ended. So basically between this couple 2 contract trades and then this 1 4 contract, which kind of put me back below water for a little bit, ended at $350 to the good before commissions. So not a spectacular day, but anyway, one more day. We looked at some longer time frame charts this morning, and then they went up for part of the day, but then they crashed at the end. Well, not a crash, but they came back down. And so they're still messing around with this range. One more day in the week, we'll see what happens. This could be kind of slow. We'll see. I'm going to kind of analyze things in the morning, make a decision, or kind of get my best guess of what might happen in the morning since it's the Friday before a 3-day holiday. But that's all I have today. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, found this somewhat interesting, kind of interesting times we're in. Keep saying that, but it's true. So we'll see what happens in the next few days, week or so. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back at it with new levels and do this all over again. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day.